Alright, I got the magneto back on. It was a little bit fiddly. I kind of had to play around with some clamps and stuff to get it right. I initially put in a little cork gasket back here, but it was making the gear go back too far, so I took it back out. Supposedly there's supposed to be one there, but I took it off. But now the armature fits pretty dang close to center. I didn't end up using the same shim that was in there. I put it on without any shims. If I put a shim in there, all that would do is move it that direction, which I don't need. If anything, I need to kind of go about 7 or 8 o'clock, a micro amount. But it's pretty dang close to center. A lot better than it used to be. I assume this is where it should be, factory center, right there. Alright, I decided I'm just going to blow out all the chunks and bits that might still be in here out of the rockers, out of the push rod holes, anywhere I could fit some air in and just try to blow things out. Maybe there's some slag inside the piston, so I'm just blowing this crap out. Alright, it's time to do the valve adjustment here, tappet adjustment. So I already checked these, and the exhaust was set at about 0.009, and the intake was pretty much 0. And these both need to be 0.003, 3 thousandths. So we're going to start with the intake, so that means that the exhaust valve needs to be all the way open. So we'll move the crank until it's all the way down, about right there. So there should be some movement here, but there's not. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this one to 0.003, and we do that basically with it's another lock nut system. You need a small wrench to keep the post at the bottom from moving, and then you basically need 2 more wrenches to kind of adjust the gap here. Once again, I don't have the right wrenches, so I'm going to use this 1/4 inch to hold this bottom post. Okay, so we got to go quite a bit open. There we go. So I'm going to move the bottom lock nut down, and that's going to allow me to adjust this one all the way down a little bit more. So it's a little easier if you cut your feeler gauge down to a little kind of a strip here, and you don't put it all the way through. There's a little nipple in there from the push rod. It's just on the side. So you can just kind of stick this in on the side and tighten by hand that top one. That one's at 0.03, and then we can adjust the bottom nut here. It's a little fiddly, especially if you have big fingers, but that should be good. So now we can tighten it up. Okay. It's actually a little bit tight. Tightened up a little bit too much. Not my favorite system here. Alright, after some fiddling, I finally got it to 0.003. This is probably easily my least favorite tappet adjustment system I've run into. Okay, now just do the other one. Alright, time to remove all that old gasket material. I guess I should probably invest in an actual gasket scraper someday, but this is fine. It's cast iron. It's not going to do any damage. Any little bits that fill in there, I blew out. Now I'm just checking the threads, cleaning them out. They're always filled with gunk. Yep, gunk. Alright, nice clean surfaces. I took some 400 grit paper and milled them flat. Now I'm cleaning the covers with some diesel fuel again. I went on to clean it with brake cleaner and everything else to get it nice and clean. Fun times. 75% of work on our old bikes is cleaning them. Took them back and milled them onto my granite countertop again, get them nice and flat. Alright, I'm getting all the rocker covers reassembled and figured out and cleaned up. Here's the new gaskets. I am not super impressed with these. They're pretty paper thin. The gaskets that I pulled off this were much better than this. But I guess these will do. My Hylomar has walked away, so I guess I'm going to go the old route of using grease. To get this magneto in position, I actually had to shim it a little bit. I added some steel in there and some thicker steel down there to try to push it this way when you tighten it up. And that got me pretty dang in the center, so I'm pretty happy about that. Alright, I found top dead center using a piston stop. I've got my magneto light set up to my points. I also got my new magneto cable. I actually had to add 2 little shims and spacer shims, whatever you call these things, because there was just so much slack. But I mounted it to the handlebars instead of back here where it was. I really am not a fan that the cable has to be taut to be full advance. I might upgrade this at some point and change this to the other cover that comes on this side. That's slack advance, so the cable doesn't have to be tight. Makes a lot more sense. But anyway, you set it to full advance. We're going to come to 30. I'm going to actually start it like maybe 34 before top dead center, because I just want to see if I tighten the gear, if it changes again. Alright, there's 34. Alright, we're going to move our timing light until it just turns on. That means the points are just opening. Alright, about there. Right here. Alright, I'm going to put in the gear on the other side and see what happens. Alright, this is attempt 1. Let's put in our oil seal. Let's put in our gear. It's got some oil on it. Get in there. Come on. There we go. Gonna give it a little tappy tap. Hopefully that taper, when I lap the taper, it's gonna help a lot. Okay, we're gonna tighten up the gear. Okay, it seems like that should be pretty tight. Okay, we're going to cross our fingers. See where the timing light turns on here. Well, we're already past where I want to be. Ooh, that's not good. Looks like it went at 30. I have no idea why it went backwards this time. Alright, gotta do it again. Alright, let's try again. Compression stroke. We're going to go right for 38. See what happens. You know what? Actually, I'm going to go 37. Come on. 37.5. Alright, 37. This time I left the gear loose on the other side. Make sure we're at full advance. And we are. Okay. Alright. Let's wait for that timing light to turn on right there. Right there. Oop. Right there. We'll push that gear in. Give it a tappy tap. Tighten it up. All right, let's try again. All right, we got 40. Ooh, we're good. I believe we're good. Let's see. 38. All right, I'm going to control the crank on the other side. And right there. That's the key. Keep the gear slightly loose on the taper back there. I'm right on the money. I couldn't be happier. 37 right there. Perfect. Boom. So the reason I said if we're 37 instead of 38, which is where we're technically supposed to be, is A, I don't want it to go advanced at all. And according to every mag builder I've talked to, which is one, Mr. Greg Poirier, hopefully I pronounced that name right, he says to set the timing retarded just by a degree or so because of the ethanol. So if you're running ethanol, it's probably a good idea to set it to 1 or 2 degrees retarded. Anyway, we're good. We're almost ready to fire this thing. All right, time to take this homebrew thing apart. There's my pointer. I'm removing the nut with the official tool, as you can see. I'm using an exhaust clamp as a spacer in there. You gotta do what you gotta do. All right, trying to get that nut on. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Use a little pressure. Just get it right. Oh, there you go. There's the official tool again. I mean, I run a professional shop here. All right, the other official tool is using an old screwdriver to stick it in the chain so things can't move. All right, I've got the sump all ready to put back together. I did not take the oil pump. Maybe I'll do it after I take this motor out and flip it upside down. Cleaned up the sump surface as much as possible. All the sump components are clean. I've got Hylamar M on new sump gaskets here. And I replaced the missing serrated washer with like a Triumph style one. I don't have any of these, so whatever. Good enough. Putting on the sump cover is pretty straightforward. It's just gasket, screen, gasket, cover. Nothing too complex here. I actually think this sump cover is a little bit better designed than the pre-unit Triumphs. You could probably use a nice drain plug as well. Magnetic drain plug would be super nice. Tighten up those nuts. You know, get some tight nuts. It's very important. But don't over tighten them. Don't want to strip out those studs. Ask me how I know. Use that internal torque wrench of yours. Okay, before we close up this timing cover, now that we've got the timing set, we've got the sump on the bottom. I don't want this sump to be dry when I start it, so I'm going to add about a 1/4 pint. Again, I like the VR1 2050. It's got zinc for these old bikes, and you can buy it in semi-bulk like this. It's a lot cheaper. So I want to put about a 1/4 pint in here, and my little injector has cc, so that's about 120 cc, so about 6 of these. There's a bigger hole in a Triumph case right here than there is on BSA. You can like actually use a funnel, but I don't think I can get a funnel in here. Yeah, this is pretty messy. I'm really not sure if I can do this a less messy way. Maybe through the push rod cover. That might just drain right into the timing cover. I'm not sure. All right, this might be my last one because this is a pain in the butt. So an 1/8 pint. That should fill up the bottom sump right there. We should be all right. Okay, the timing cover is all ready here. The timing side's all buttoned up, cleaned up. We've got a nice new gasket. This is actually good gasket material. I don't know why they mix crappy with good, but this is good. I've got some Hylamar on everything here. Time to get this little baby back together. Alright, putting on the cover. Hey, it's an easy job. What can you say about it? Just start those screws off and make sure you don't tear the gasket. Make sure everything's lined up and nice before you start beating on it with your fist or a mallet. I don't recommend using a metal hammer on this, just so you know. Try to work your way out from the center, you know, like you're tightening up a wheel on a car. The tension kind of comes out from the center. How much more can you really say about putting on a screw? I don't know. Just watch this. And finally, we need to put in the oil valve spring here. So it goes bearing, spring, fiber washer, and the bolt. And once again, I had to reuse a fiber washer because once again, it wasn't in the complete gasket kit. Makes a lot of sense to say complete. Alright, I have all my oil components here. I've got my oil tank that's literally been soaking in diesel fuel for about 3 weeks now. And the inside, even though you can't see it, is a lot cleaner. I'm going to take some of my screws and just kind of shake it out a few more times before I get ready to install that. All my oil lines are nice and clean, cleaned out, ready. I was planning on making just a flat plate for the battery side here, but I don't have the proper gauge, so I'll have to go find some. So for right now, that's going to go back on. I was going to take out this drain. I believe this is just a rocker drain, but I can't get that bolt out with the inner primary on, so I'm going to just leave it alone. I'm not going to mess with it. Alright, I've started by putting some oversized tubing on the feed and the return. I was not able to use the original clamps because the OD of this tubing is much smaller, but I did manage to find a couple that look kind of cool. I absolutely hate this style of clamp, but it looks like I'm going to have to use a couple of them. Well, after lightly putting the oil tank on, I kind of became skeptical about this being the feed and this being the return, so I loaded up some oil inside each one. And this one's definitely pumping out. It's pumping out all that black stuff. And this one's slowly draining away. So it's complete opposite. Alright, last night I got the oil tank back on and all the lines plumbed. It was actually a little bit complex, a little bit more than I thought with all these like hard lines. But I think I have a good system worked out now where you actually remove the feed from the rocker so it's loose. Then you just put all this together first, put it in there, get your lines on, then secure this on that way. That way this hard line doesn't have to constantly be moved around. I also took time to shave the gasket that was sticking out. You know, it's just one more spot for stuff to get stuck to, so I got rid of that. It's a nice little bit cleaner line now. Once again, I prefer the good old Valvoline VR1, the 2050. I think this is good oil. It's got the zinc. Plus, you can also pick it up in bulk pretty easy. All right, let's fill her up. I really hate the idea that I'm probably wasting this entire container of oil, because I'm probably going to change the oil after I run this for maybe about an hour, which kind of sucks, but you know, it's part of working on old bikes, I guess. A lot of oil consumption. All right, the oil system is ready to go, pre-primed. Shouldn't be any issues. Next up, I'm going to do just a little bit of work on the gearbox. So I noticed that the clutch has absolutely no play on it. That means we're putting pressure on the clutch plates already, and that's no good. So I'm going to adjust the clutch so there's a little bit of play, and I'm also going to change the oil on this. Alright, there's a tiny drain right here, kind of stuff back here under the, a little bit further than I would want it to be. Pretty tight. I don't even know if there's any oil in here, honestly. It's gonna dribble all over. Let's make ourselves some sort of funnel. See if that works. Looky there. Pretty ooey gooey. That is some that's some honey gear oil right there. It's like freaking Venom from Spider-Man. There it goes. All right, while that symbiote makes its way out of the gear case, I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to put the carb back on. All right, nice fresh gasket. Put on the phenolic block. Clean up your surfaces. Make sure your O-ring is located. I don't think these are the correct hardware, but hey, I'm not going to buy a $5 nut. Once again, the other side's a little fiddly because of my giant thumbs, but I managed to make it work. Tighten it, but don't make it too tight. That is the very main cause of a bent flange. Okay, get the head steady on. Also, I don't think this is the correct hardware, but it's a bolt and it holds things together. That's what they do. Okay, if you're from the Concours d'Elegance, you can subtract a few points for not having the correct hardware here. Yep, just tightening things up. Pretty exciting stuff here. She's still oozing out. I sprayed some carb cleaner in there. I don't know what that's really going to do. It's pretty viscous. I'll probably definitely want to change the gearbox transmission oil as well after a couple hours. Try to get the rest of that goo out. So if you look here, the overflow coming off the oil tank comes down to this tube, which is pinched off at the end. I don't know if you can see it there, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Usually when you do this, you turn it into like a chain oiler, but it's not over the chain, so what's the point? Maybe I'll fabricate some sort of other kind of bracket to hold it over the chain or something at some point, but this is basically doing nothing. Alright, while the oil is draining, I'm going to go ahead and remove a lot of this wiring. I wasn't going to do this yet, but it's just kind of bugging me. This is the kill switch. If you notice, it's made from one of the side mount headlights. But I'm going to just remove all this stuff, the lights, the wiring, just get it out of here. Still oozing very slowly, but I'm going to go ahead and adjust the clutch now. Hopefully there's no issues inside there. Gonna remove the lock nut here. We're not gonna loosen the lock nut. There we go. Okay. So now we're gonna screw this in. And we want to find a little bit of just as it touches the push rod in there. Maybe that. Then we're going to turn it half a turn. That seems a lot better already. We've got about an 1/8 inch of play in the lever before the clutch actually starts activating. I don't think this clutch cable has much more life left in it. Alright, now that I feel good about that setting, I'm going to go ahead and tighten the nut back up. Alright. Yeah, it feels a lot better. There's some slack in the rod. There wasn't any before. A little bit slack in this. Alright, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to throw this away. There's some, all that liquid on top is carb cleaner. All the old gear oil is that molasses at the bottom. Okay, let me clean this up as much as I can. Still coming out, but what are you gonna do? All right, I got the clean drain plug here. It was also filled with a bunch of gunk. Let's see if I can get that in there. Okay, now to put some more gear oil in there. Alright, I have no idea how much to put in there, so I'm just going to put in some 80-90. Excuse me. Okay, I actually decided to do some research, and the internet says that this uses 1 pint of oil. There is no leveling plug. So they say when it gets just about to the lip of the cap thread here, that's when you know you have enough. So I'm going to go ahead and put some more in, move on. Alright, I think I'm just about ready. Let me put the exhaust pipe back on and let's get this thing down. Alright, it is the moment of truth. It's been a few weeks working on this and lots of cleaning. I've got my auxiliary fuel tank hooked up, got my spark plug locked and loaded. Bike is at full advance and I'm going to knock it back just a little bit. Gas is on. Very cold engine. Alright, let's see if all my work is for naught. Alright, we find that compression stroke. Right there. Go a little bit past it. No. doesn't sound much different. First oil. We are returning oil. Alright, let's see what happens. Oh man, what the frick is that? Well, that was a lot of work to get to this point to tell me it's still not running right. It runs better. It just seems to not have as much power as it should, I feel. And it feels like I need to constantly adjust the advance. Like sometimes at full advance, it doesn't feel like it's getting enough power. If I just kind of retard it a little bit, I can take off a little bit better. It definitely runs better than it did. But something is still not right. So I'm gonna attack the clutch next and see if there's any issues in there. That could be slowing me down right there. Another problem is you may have noticed that when I pulled up, it did this last time too. I pulled up and I was trying to stop and then it just kind of like killed itself and there's a big clank. I don't like that very much at all. So I don't know what's going on there. So I think that's it for this video. She's back to running again. Now we gotta start diagnosing more issues. Until next time, thanks for watching. You didn't think this video was over yet, did you? Alright, I couldn't let it go. I'm gonna see what's going on. I'm pretty sure it's the clutch. Alright, watch the clutch down there. Up close. You'll want to focus on this, okay? So I'm going to move a little bit. Alright, so if I try to go forward, there, it's knocking the gear. You can hear it sliding on the clutch plate. It's not grabbing on very good. Let's try this. Yeah, I think the clutch needs replaced. We're not getting enough grab. Okay, I'm gonna put this thing back on the lift. Okay. All right, I'm gonna make this quick. I've actually already ordered the clutch hub tool for this. outer. Oh, that's not a cork, but it is gone. There's nothing there. These plates are shot. Some on this side, but nothing on this side. Yep. Shot. It's better on the inside than the outside. That's a totally different disc. That one's the best of the bunch so far. Alright, I think that last plate, yeah, it's gonna come. Okay. There we go. Stinky. Got stuck in there. Okay, the inside of the basket has fiber on it as well. The basket itself actually looks like it's in pretty good condition. This clutches are a little bit wobbly in the first place, so it's hard to tell if that's worn out or not. Clutch push rod tube. I think maybe this is a two-piece. Must be. So there's probably a bearing in there, I'm guessing. But that looks fine. Alright, I think that's the official end of this video. I'm going to start looking at the clutch. See you next time, for real.